Hello everybody, welcome to a quick look on Earthfall. Now, I've been playing quite a bit of this with Karak, Takedown, and some other people from the ACG Discord. It's been really fun, and then I thought, why not do a quick look video on this and sort of tell people what they're in for if they do choose to jump into this. So if you've no idea what this game is about, this is essentially a co-op game, first-person co-op game up to 4 players in the vein of Left 4 Dead 2. So if you played that game, you know pretty much what's going on here. You have the same type of enemies, so you got the class of enemies that sort of drag you away from the combat. You got the enemies that immobilize you in place while dealing damage. You got the big boomer enemies that explode and leave sort of a nasty poison cloud thing going. And then you got a couple of new additions that are unique to the title that we can talk about in a moment. And we'll talk about the ways that the game does differentiate itself from Left 4 Dead 2. Of course, if you don't like that genre of games or that sort of formula, then this game won't be for you. It won't change anything fundamentally about that style of gameplay enough that it would bring someone that doesn't like the genre into it. At least that is my opinion currently. So let's just talk about some of the ways that Earthfall tries to differentiate itself from the original formula. First off, I'll just preface this by saying I don't have a problem necessarily with following a formula that's been successful in the past and building on that. I think that's actually something that should be done. And games are okay to iterate over stuff that has been tried before. Now, with that said, I do think that it is necessary to be creative and add your own tinge to the experience. And in here, they do that in some ways that we're going to discuss in a moment. But mainly, I did find that it was a little bit lacking in terms of new stuff that would be unique to the game. So let's talk about some of the stuff that is unique to this game compared to some of the others in the genre. So I think the first thing is the enemy type. So I was hinting at some new enemy types that you have not seen in games like Left 4 Dead 2. In this game you have one that is called the Blackout, which is an interesting enemy that teleports all over the place. Let me see if I can find some footage. What we're seeing right now is footage of me playing with Karak and Takedown, as you can see down there. And if we in fact, I'll just talk about this enemy right here. We call it the Sex Giraffe, and of course that's not its official name. I think it's called Whiplash. That is the enemy that drags you away from your friends, of course present in Left 4 Dead 2 as well in other forms. But the new enemy that I was talking about, called Blackout, is an enemy that is actually teleporting all over the place and has some shields as well. So on top of being very tanky, it actually presents some extra difficulties, and here we see the boomer enemy. So the Blackout is an enemy that is difficult because of its mobility. It can also stun you as it teleports in your direction or through you. So then, what else is unique in this game? Another thing that's quite unique is in this section you will see to your right there is actually a printer, a 3D printer that you can use to print out weapons. So there will be these sections in the game where you're supposed to sort of hole up in a location and you can print new weapons as you need to. So you essentially have unlimited ammo as long as you can print new weapons. You can also heal over and over using the machine over there. So really, that's quite unique. That's something that departs from the original formula. So far I like it, but I do think it can be abused a bit sometimes. And there is the Blackout enemy that I was talking about. You can see that little stun that you get as it phases through you and it teleports. So aside from this though, there aren't a lot of other differences. You can see there are some barricades that you can set up. The one right there over the window, and that's actually something that I really like in this game. You can move those barricades and place them in strategic places. Obviously, you would place them in the entrance to whatever place you're holding up in. And I do like this level because of the snow. I think it looks quite good, even though there isn't much of a physics engine behind the snow. It doesn't really behave that way. And stuff like glass is not implemented that well either, so sometimes you can't shoot through glass. It won't have any physics attached to it. Some other physics stuff is actually quite surprisingly well done. So if you kill, let's just say you pop an alien's head right next to a truck, there will be actually a splatter that happens from its head onto the truck. And that kind of stuff is quite well made. Quite a bit of attention to detail put into that. You can see here you're playing with the barrels. Obviously, you want to throw that onto sort of a crowd of enemies and then pop it. Let's move forwards a bit into one of our later runs here. In this one, towards the end, there was an interesting section. You can see here there's like a train situation. And I apologize that I'm not able to use the audio here because obviously we're talking with each other and I didn't want to use the audio of that because I didn't inform people that I necessarily would be posting this. I know Carrick was okay with that and he posted the whole run on his channel. So I'll leave a link to that below if you want to check out the actual playthrough of this that we did together with commentary and all of that. But you can see here, we come to this spot, and there's another beast enemy that we're facing. We come to this pretty cool spot, where you sort of go to the high ground and have to hold it against a horde of enemies. You can see ourselves preparing some barricades, gearing up with healing and other types of things. Generally getting ready for whatever is to come. Let's skip ahead a little bit. You can see Carrick has the minigun. I have a flamethrower. And of course, there is friendly fire. Even though it doesn't do a lot of damage, it does do some. And the fire is quite aggravating against enemies. I think this one quickly gets out of control. We're just about to finish the level. This is the very end of the level. And I think we choke on this and we don't make it. You can see Carrick down there, he's in a bad spot. And this is where you have to be mindful when you have the flamethrower, because I'm actually probably burning Carrick with this. Which I think I was actually doing sort of on purpose as a joke. Probably not as funny to the guy being burnt though. If we skip ahead a little bit, you can see a beast enemy is now approaching and things are quite quickly rather, escalating out of control. Carrick, you can see with the icon, he's being held down by a Thresher. That's the name of the enemy that holds you down and does a ton of damage. Every run is refreshingly new, at least it feels that way, because all the enemy spawns are random and the way enemies present themselves and sort of the layout can change as well. Not the layout of the level, but just how things present themselves with the different spawns. Things can go south really quickly. And that keeps you on your toes, and there's a feeling of tension there at all times, because no matter how well you think you're doing, it can always go south in a matter of seconds, really, depending on spawns and, you know, certain unfortunate situations that can occur. So with all of that, I'd say there's a lot here if you like the genre, and if you have friends to play this kind of thing with. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for a single player experience. I really think this is elevated by playing with friends and sort of banter and jolly cooperation as it goes. But anyways, those are my 2 cents on the game. Let me know down below if you enjoyed the video. I hope you did. Perhaps consider checking out some of the content on the channel. Definitely check out the playthrough we did on this on Carrick's channel. I'll leave a link to that video below. Check that out. Thank you for watching, and as always, catch you next time.